The Para RC Cloud powered paraglider is a guaranteed head turner whenever you show up to the field with it. Why? Because it isn't the same old P-51 everyone has. It's got amazing flight characteristics that even someone who struggles to ride a bike could tame. However, PIO can be dangerous.
Yep, there you go. We tangled our lines so that you don't have to. Fly smoothly.
The Para RC Cloud is an amazing flyer for early mornings or late evenings with calm winds. It's one of the most relaxing experiences flying that you can get in RC because everything happens so slow. The 0.5 square meter or 5.5 square foot wing keeps her wing loading nice and low. She only flies at 10 miles an hour. Starting on the ground, the assembly goes super quick. After taking the elliptical parachute out of the included bag, start by laying out the wing completely and clearing all the lines. This is done by raising both the steering lines and main risers on each side before every flight to verify everything is clear and not tangled. The steering lines should also be behind and clear of the main risers. Once you've validated that your lines aren't spaghetti, go ahead and connect them to the motor pod in this orientation. After that, you're almost ready for flight. We use a 1300 mAh 3-cell with our timer set to 15 minutes. After flying, our packs usually will still have over 50 to 60% remaining depending on our throttle usage. We recommend waking up early for your first flight to avoid any wind. To take off the paraglider, or PPG, we'll be doing a hand launch. Start by holding the paraglider with the wing hanging down and the lines cleared below you. It should be held in an orientation that will have it flying out of your hand upon release. Bring in the power to about 50% and gently raise the PPG while moving it forward in the direction of flight. Once the chute is above the motor pod, let go and she'll fly away. Turning is accomplished by pulling the steering lines down via a servo on either side of the wing. The steering lines pull down the trailing edge of the chute on the far left or right side, creating drag that initiates a turn. Climbs and descents are all throttle-based. Cruise throttle at a fixed altitude depends on flight weight. Climb is more throttle than cruise throttle. Descend is less throttle than cruise. As a side note, this bird holds a special place in my heart because powered parachutes are how I got into full-scale aviation when I was 16 years old. Ben was also my first full-scale powered parachute student to solo. This meant that keeping one in our fleet at any time was a must. One thing that we couldn't do with the full-scale powered parachute was night flying. The Para RC Cloud can though. Super bright built-in LEDs allow for flights in pitch black conditions. This is a super convenient feature because winds are usually dead calm in late evenings, and this means that you don't have to call it a night once the sun is down. Some of the most fun we've had with this PPG has been night flying. It's super relaxing. Speaking of wind, let's talk about that. No matter how experienced you think you are, this just isn't a type of aircraft that you'd want to fly and wind more than 3 to 5 miles an hour, especially if there's gust factor. For one, it only flies at 10 miles an hour, so any more wind than that and you'll be flying at a turtle's pace or even backwards. If you do decide to fly in less than optimal conditions, it'll be less of a challenge and more of a death sentence. Not to mention, it just really isn't fun anymore. While we're talking about crashing, let's take a look at the most common reason you'll crash this thing: pilot-induced oscillation, or PIO. PIO is something every owner of this bird needs to be aware of. Always keep your inputs gentle and smooth, especially on the throttle, or you could end up like this.
Yep, there you go. There you go.
What's the lesson there, Zach?
Be gentle, folks.
Fixed-wing pilots who are expecting a highly maneuverable aircraft will likely be disappointed and will generally over-control PPGs at first. But that doesn't mean it can't do some light acro. One of our favorite things to do with it are loops. Start with a gentle application of power up to full, keeping her in a turn, and once you've got the energy, start reducing your roll input to carry the energy into a loop. The coolest part? She'll stay in the loop until you reduce the power. Light acro can be fun, but be careful to ensure you have enough energy to go over the top, or else. When exiting the maneuver, as with the fixed wing, at the top of the loop, bring the power gently all the way out. We found that introducing a slight turn upon reducing the throttle to idle when coming over the top helps prevent PIO as well. Before you go out and buy one, there's a few more things that should be discussed. To fly this bird, you will either need a mixer or manual programming of a mix on your transmitter, neither of which is included with the PPG. This is because you can't use elevons, as you don't want to have one servo going up and another going down to turn, but rather only want one going down at a time in order to mimic a full-scale PPG wing. And, of course, we can't stress the importance of clearing your lines before you fly. Failure to do so will result in a barely controllable paraglider, if you're lucky. What goes up must come down, so let's take a look at landing this bird. We recommend catching it because otherwise the lines will be tangled after nearly every flight. Start by making a stable approach towards yourself into the wind if able at about the height of your head. Once you're within 10 feet of yourself, ease the power back to full idle and begin the flare by pulling down on both steering lines via up elevator in your transmitter. Finally, take your hand off the radio and grab her out of the sky. Bonus points if you keep your fingers out of the prop. So, what are you waiting for? Low and Slow is a fun part of aviation that isn't often tapped into. Give it a shot. Pick up a Para RC Cloud PPG from Hacker. Links for everything mentioned in this video will be in the description below. If you've enjoyed it, consider hitting subscribe or maybe even giving this video a like. Happy landings and bounce one on for us. We'll see you next time with a new upload.